The Jedi Code is a key to understanding the Force and the path of the Jedi. While it exists as a central cornerstone component of Jedi understanding and training, it can be misunderstood by those who lack connection to the Force, or be used as a bludgeon to force a conformity of ideal that is focused not on Jedi training, the Force, or spirituality, but instead focused on a bare minimum checkbox. To understand the Code, we must understand its parts as a whole, and we must contemplate it deeply as part of the connection to the Force itself. When we refer to the Jedi Code, we are referring to three individual interpretations of it. These interpretations of the Code represent the self, the Force, and the philosophy of the Jedi path. The first one we will look at is the self, which is as follows. Emotion, yet peace. Ignorance, yet knowledge. Passion, yet serenity. Chaos, yet harmony. Death, yet the Force. This is most commonly the preferred variation of the Code, as it allows a certain degree of personal freedom in feeling, being, and existing. However, its purpose is limited. It is simply used as a tool for understanding what a Jedi should strive for, and it lacks a true deeper connection to the nature of the Force. It exists more to clarify the interpretation of the Code which represents the Force. While it is the most commonly adopted version, it is often adopted as a form of lip service when emotions, ignorance, or passion are too hard to control, rather than as a bolstered aim. Because of this, among Jedi pathworkers it often falls out of favor. When used properly, it recognizes that while we can never completely control or remove an emotion, never truly be totally knowledgeable, and never truly find serenity as a permanent state, we should strive toward these states, especially in crises. Using it any other way is lazy, and encourages a departure from the path. The next interpretation of the Code has to do with the Force, but may also act as a mantra for meditation. This version of the Code is as follows. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. This version of the Code speaks to the essence of the Force, in that it does not itself have emotion, ignorance, passion, chaos, or death. It is all things in all places and all points of time. In this state of oneness, as all things, the Force is peace, knowledge, serenity, and harmony. It is the recognition of the greater whole we find in the Code, and this makes this the preferred Code of Jedi pathworkers. While this is an excellent mantra, it is also the state we should strive for in crises, when our emotions run high, or when we feel we are being driven. It's a hard state to reach, but in aiming for this state, we are more likely to achieve the previous mentioned state of being. This works as an amazing mantra for meditation to encourage that more focused state of being, as well as the stronger connection to the Force. While this version of the Code is undoubtedly superior, it is often misinterpreted by those seeking to damage the Jedi path and to discredit those on it. Those who seek to destabilize the path will trumpet this variation of the Code as being harsh and cruel, attempting to purge all emotion from the one who uses it. They misinterpret peace as sterility purposefully, and serenity as a detachment that will allow for cruelty or callous action. The truth is, from a state of peace, we can see that emotions are a surface-level thing and instead seek right action, compassion, and harmony with those around us in accordance with the third Code. Not only is this Code often devalued by those who lack a deeper connection to the Force, but those who have misused this Code as a bludgeon are upheld as pinnacles by the very people who seek to destroy the Jedi path. They attempt to prove the Code is flawed by pointing only to the bad actors who themselves have misused it as an excuse for wrong action. Ultimately, one truly in line with the Force, and the Code will not act badly, though even the strictest adherent to the Code are flawed, and will find their adherence fails. It is important to realize that the Code itself is perfect. Just as the Force is infinite, it is we who are flawed in our ability to connect to the Force and adhere to the Code. The last version of the Code concerns right action, what it means to be a Jedi in the world, and how to direct ourselves. It is often misused by taking small parts of it as a hyperfixation while avoiding deeper contemplation on its meaning. Only by using the mythology, the Force, and the other aspects of the Code in alignment with this version of the Code can we truly understand it. This Code of Jedi action is as follows. Jedi are the guardians of peace in the galaxy. Jedi use their powers to defend and to protect. Jedi respect all life, in any form. Jedi serve others rather than ruling over them, for the good of the galaxy. Jedi seek to improve themselves through knowledge and training. The first line, Jedi are guardians of peace in the galaxy, is often reworded to world, or as guardians of peace and justice, and while these variations are not universal, the core intent remains the same. This first line is almost never used incorrectly, save the times it is used to uphold laxity and permitting evil through keeping the peace over other areas of right action. Thankfully, when taken as a whole with the rest of the Code, it is impossible to follow a road of neglecting right action. The second line, Jedi use their powers to defend and to protect, again is often misused. Defense does not mean a lack of aggression, and in fact, almost all defense arts use attack in some form. This line is also used to encourage an idea that any form of defending is inherently valuable to a Jedi's training when the mythology shows a definitive focus on a Jedi being able to defend others from physical and spiritual threats primarily. Ultimately, however, this line is abused by the devaluation of the word powers in it. When this refers to powers, it means specifically the power of the Force. When one does evil, it is wrong, and so we should avoid that innately as part of this Code. We are, however, called to learn about, and ultimately master using the Force. In this, those powers are the inherent benefits we gain from using the Force, the ability to subtly influence the world around us, make ourselves stronger, or have a very unfair advantage in the world. By focusing on this as a power of defense and protection, we as Jedi must learn to use the Force to defend and protect others. It really is that simple, and yet it is often conflated for the sole purpose of removing the Force from the path. The next line is perhaps the least misinterpreted. It is Jedi respect all life, in any form. This line is all about respecting life, but has been misused to promote an idea that all Jedi must be vegan or vegetarian in some way. The truth is, one can respect life, and still take it, as we see in the mythology frequently. Respecting life does not mean we cannot challenge life, or follow the goals of right action. The misuse of this line is more a bludgeon against those carrying out right action, or as an effort to force Jedi into a mold. We see this need to force other Jedi into alignment with an ideal not expressed in the mythology or the Code in any form as a way of distracting from the disconnection from the Force. The next line of the Jedi Code is the one most misused and abused. It is, Jedi serve others rather than ruling over them, for the good of the galaxy. Again, some replace galaxy with world for the sake of seeming less fanciful, but this is not where the great harm comes. Instead, the statement of service is used as a bludgeon and a virtue-signaling effort in which all of the rest of the path is tossed aside, crushed under boot heels, and the focus becomes only on the question of are you being of service? The Jedi path, as we can see in the mythology, is a spiritual path with martial elements built into it. It is a path of peaceful coexistence until such time as one must act without peaceful resolution. Once a Jedi must act without peaceful coexistence, they must do so from a state of being of peace. That is the path of the Jedi. This line, however, supports that, despite its misuse. By hyper-focusing on service as a key word, the rest of the line is missed. It states that Jedi serve others rather than ruling over them, emphasis on the word rather, for the good of the galaxy. The key here is how these words relate to each other. Through the Force we have some power over others. It is easy to rule over others, so instead we must use the Force in service of the good of all. This isn't just dedicating your life to service, but instead dedicating your life to the Force, and recognizing and doing that if you use it constantly to decide the fate of others in accordance with your will, and not with their will, wants, and needs, that you will go down the path of evil. This line specifically references good, because this is about good and evil in the way we use the Force. The last line is most often ignored entirely by those who seek to lessen the path, as it is hard to corrupt. The line is Jedi seek to improve themselves through knowledge and training. The mythology shows us the kind of training this speaks of: training in the Force, training to use it, feel it, and be a part of it. This line is only used when it can be used as a bludgeon to focus on other areas of training outside of the Force in the common effort of Force erasure. To understand the Jedi Code, one must understand how it is misused, and what makes it easy to misuse. Taken only in small snippets, in incomplete forms, the misuse of the Jedi Code is not hard. It's easy to take any concept out of context. Many religions have terrible hatred perpetrated by their adherents because the core of the religion is ignored, and instead the minutiae is used to push an agenda. So too are the Jedi path, and those who truly walk it, exposed to a kind of violence against them. The misuse of the Jedi Code to perpetrate the erasure of the Force and the path is an act of violence against a great ideal, founded in a mythology of right action, where good stands against evil. This erasure benefits only those who wish to water down, or bring something else into the path to remove what suits them, rather than benefit from and become better for walking the path as a path worker. There is good and bad news with this though. This hyper-focus on isolating parts of a line here, or a statement there, becomes obvious to outside observers. Anyone witnessing this quickly notes how out of character and distant from the ideal those who call themselves Jedi, but do not walk the path are. They are easy to see by people new to the community and to the path. Sadly, this also means that when new people see this desperate grab at power to destroy the mention of the Force, to burden and beat down those who walk the path, and to destroy the core of what it means to be Jedi, they often just leave. The steady decline of membership in the Jedi community as a whole, and the lack of activity among its members is proof of this. Many who walk the path are so burdened from having argued in favor of it, they have lost the will to stand up. Many who are on the path and dedicated have argued for so long against pretenders that they have no strength left to stand. They have reached mental exhaustion. Those who misuse the code and the mythology by focusing on minutiae without the whole of it attempt to crush the core of the Jedi path under a boot heel of conformity that focuses more on bringing in other religious ideals and religious practices, instead of investing in a deeper study and contemplation of the Force.